The reality is that Paula Badosa is in total meltdown mode, and her career is officially in freefall. The tennis world was stunned when the former world number 2 suddenly walked away from her match against Alex Eala in Miami. People are calling it a procedural failure and a calculated lie to protect what is left of her reputation. The documents prove that Badosa was looking for an exit strategy the moment she saw the teenager from the Philippines dominating the draw. She knew she could not handle the pressure of facing a rising star who had nothing to lose. This was not just a simple injury, but a complete systemic collapse of a player who can no longer handle the heat. Badosa has become the ultimate villain of the WTA Tour. She acts like a victim of her own body, but the facts tell a very different story of manipulation. The truth is that the scandal began long before the walkover was announced to the public. Badosa had already been acting out during her previous match against Clara Towson in a way that many experts saw as manipulative. Even her opponent was annoyed by the timing of the medical timeouts, which seemed designed to break the rhythm of the game. The reality is that Badosa used every trick in the book to gut out a win she did not deserve. But when she saw Alex Eala waiting in the next round, she knew her luck had run out. She chose to withdraw and hide behind a back injury rather than face the humiliation of a straight sets loss. This is the behavior of someone who is terrified of losing their status. Alex Eala is the true hero of this story because she did everything the right way. She fought through the qualifying rounds and knocked out major champions like Jelena Ostapenko and Madison Keys. The reality is that Eala was ready to play, and she was ready to win. She had the momentum and the support of a whole nation behind her. But the system decided to give Badosa an easy way out that left the fans feeling cheated. The documents prove that Badosa has a history of these late withdrawals whenever the competition gets too fierce. It is a pattern of behavior that shows she is more interested in protecting her ranking than playing the game. Eala is the victim of a system that protects its aging stars while stepping on the dreams of the youth. The industry is finally starting to distance itself from Badosa as the evidence of her manipulation becomes undeniable. The reality is that she has withdrawn from multiple big events like Indian Wells and Marina just this year alone. It is not a coincidence that these injuries always happen when she is facing tough draws. The documents prove that her lower back issues have become a convenient excuse for whenever she feels overwhelmed. She is a diva who expects the tour to revolve around her schedule and her needs. But the fans are tired of the excuses and the drama that follows her everywhere she goes. She has become a liability to the sport, and the sponsors are starting to notice. What happened next was even more shocking as the WTA executives scrambled to cover up the mess. They tried to frame it as a standard injury report, but the fans saw right through the deception. The reality is that the tour is desperate to keep its big names relevant, even when they are clearly failing. They allowed Badosa to take up a spot in the draw that could have gone to a player who was actually healthy and ready to compete. This is a procedural failure that hurts the integrity of the entire sport. Alex Eala was forced to wait around while Badosa played her games, and the resulting walkover was a slap in the face to everyone who bought a ticket. This is how the WTA Playbook operates, and it is a complete disaster for the fans. The documents prove that Badosa's movement was already limited, and she was only winning because of her raw power. But power does not mean anything if you do not have the heart to stay on the court. The reality is that she was terrified of what Eala would do to her in front of a global audience. Eala is a southpaw who knows how to absorb pace and force her opponents into making mistakes. But those who knew she would be exposed as a fraud on the grandstand court, so she took the easy way out and left Eala to move into the quarterfinals without a real fight. It was a cowardly move that will haunt Badosa for the rest of her career. She stole a moment of glory from a girl who had worked her whole life to get there. The bigger picture reveals a WTA playbook that is designed to shield the elites from embarrassment. The reality is that there are rulebook clauses that allow top-seeded players to withdraw with very little accountability. The documents prove that these rules are being exploited by players like Badosa who want to keep their prize money without doing the work. Eala earned every bit of her historic run, while Badosa was busy making excuses. Eala became the first Filipina to reach a 1,000-level quarterfinal because she stayed focused and stayed brave. She did not let the drama of her opponent distract her from the goal, but the system almost took that away from her by allowing the villain to dictate the terms of the engagement. The feud between the two players is now out in the open, and there is no turning back. Badosa's accusations of being a victim of her own body are falling apart under the weight of the facts. The reality is that she is a player who has lost her edge and now is trying to manipulate the narrative. She posted on social media about her recovery, but nobody is buying it anymore. The industry is looking for new stars like Eala who actually show up and play. Badosa is becoming a relic of a past era where divas could get away with anything. Her reputation is in a state of absolute freefall, and she has no one to blame but herself. She is the architect of her own destruction. The financial evidence shows that Badosa is still collecting massive checks while barely finishing tournaments. The documents prove that she is taking advantage of her past success to stay in the spotlight. But the spotlight is starting to burn her as the truth comes out. The reality is that she is a villain who has deceived the fans for too long. She has used her personal life and her high-profile relationships to distract from her failing performance on the court. But you can't hide the results forever, and the results show a player who is done. She is more focused on being an influencer than being a professional athlete. This is the ultimate systemic implication of the modern tour, where fame matters more than wins. Alex Eala is now the one paving the way for the next generation of players. She is an example for every child in the Philippines who wants to make it to the top. The reality is that she did it without the help of a corrupt system or manipulative tactics. She won her matches with grit and determination, while her opponent was looking for a way out. The industry is finally recognizing that Eala is the future and Badosa is the past. The documents prove that the rankings are shifting and the power is moving towards those who actually compete. The era of the protected diva is coming to a violent end. Badosa's career is now defined by these meltdowns and failures to show up. The reality is that she has become a liability for the tour and a disappointment to her fans. Every time she steps on the court, people are just waiting for her to quit. This is not the legacy of a champion, but the record of a quitter. She thought she could destroy Eala's momentum by withdrawing, but she only made Eala a bigger star. The world is rallying behind the hero who was denied her moment in the sun by a manipulative villain. The fact that Badosa tried to justify her actions only makes her look more guilty in the eyes of the public. The procedural failures in Miami are just the tip of the iceberg for the WTA. The reality is that the entire system needs a rewrite to prevent this kind of manipulation from happening again. We need rules that hold players accountable for their withdrawals and protect the integrity of the draw. The documents prove that the fans are losing faith in the leadership of people like Steve Simon. They see the favoritism and the calculated lies that are used to protect the top stars. But players like Alex Eala are showing that you cannot stop the truth from coming out. The system is broken, but the new generation is ready to fix it. The reality is that Badosa's time at the top is over, and she knows it. Her actions in Miami were the final desperate moves of a player who has lost her confidence. She can no longer compete at the highest level, so she resorts to drama and deception. The documents prove that her ranking is bolstered by a system that rewards longevity over actual performance. But the points will eventually run out, and she will be left with nothing. She is a villain who tried to manipulate the sport for her own gain, but she failed. She is now a warning to every other player who thinks they can cheat the game. Alex Eala is moving on to bigger and better things, while Badosa is stuck in a cycle of injury and excuses. The reality is that Eala's win over Madison Keys proved she belongs with the best in the world. She doesn't need a walkover to show her talent. She was ready to take Badosa down, and everyone knows it. The documents prove that Eala's stats were superior and her mental game was much stronger. She is the hero we need in a sport that has been corrupted by ego and lies. She is the light at the end of a very dark tunnel for the WTA. The industry is finally watching Badosa with a critical eye as she tries to rebuild her image. But the damage is done and the truth is out. The reality is that her withdrawal was a calculated move to avoid a beating. She thought she could control the narrative, but she underestimated the intelligence of the fans. They see the pattern and they see the manipulation. Badosa is a villain who has finally been unmasked for the world to see. There is no redemption for someone who abandons the field of battle because they are scared of a teenager.